Hello, everyone, and welcome to our today's session. My name is Alina, and I'm an Education USA advisor, and I'm super happy to see so many people with us today. So, as you know, Education USA is here to assist you with your application process. Either you're applying for your postgraduate or undergraduate degree. We have a website that will allow you to explore more options, and there is a QR code that you can see now on your screen. So you can scan it and you can go there and see all the events that we have planned for this month. We are trying to offer you as many topics as possible. We are also inviting a lot of HIEs, and we are also inviting students who are either prospective or either current alumni studying in the US. So stay tuned for the events that we also have planned for you in June and July. A lot of them are coming, and I really hope that you will use the opportunity of watching them and addressing your question. Okay, so today we have a very interesting topic, which is often asked by the students, and it's super confusing. And that is how is to explore the opportunity of studying in the US and specifically for your undergraduate degree. And we have invited today a speaker that is I'll not say very popular because all the institutions are definitely very popular, but among our students, we find that NYU Abu Dhabi is a very popular destination. So we have invited today Susanna from NYU Abu Dhabi. She's an outreach officer. Thank you so much, Susanna, for being our presenter today. I will just give you the floor so you can introduce yourself. We will also have time for the Q&A session, so please stay tuned till the end. Write your question in the chat box. There is no need to write that you are present. So yes, you have to write in the chat just your question. You are fine. Great. Then I'm gonna just give the floor to Susanna, and yes, enjoy the presentation.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lina, for the introduction. And hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. As you heard, my name is Susanna Kovac. I'm an outreach officer for New York University's campus in Abu Dhabi. So what I would like for us to do here today is to understand a little bit more about how a global network university works, because NYU is a global network university, which means that with one application, you can apply to 3 campuses of NYU. And if you will be a student of NYU, you can study altogether in 6 continents. So I'm here to explain a little bit more about that, how the application process works. And as we are using the Common App online application, a lot of things that I will mention actually is quite common for a lot of US universities. So it's a good introduction. It can be a good introduction just to the idea of how to apply to a US university and what a holistic admission process means. A lot of American universities are using holistic admission processes. So I will introduce this phrase a little bit more, talk about liberal arts education, which again is a very typical American curriculum that you would be able to follow. So there will be a lot of exciting things to discover about US higher education in general, and specifically about NYU and NYU's campus in Abu Dhabi. So I will jump into it. Great, I'm able to move the slides and everything, so all works nicely. And as my colleague mentioned, we will definitely have the time for a Q&A as well. So while I'm talking, if you have any questions, maybe note those down or type them in the comment section. And once we get to the Q&A, we will answer all of your questions. So you can, start your research by yourself after that and start thinking about applying to US universities. So as I mentioned, NYU is a global network university, which first and foremost, it means that we have 3 degree grading campuses. And I guess when you hear the name New York University, and if you are familiar with NYU, then probably you know about our campus in New York City. That's the largest campus of NYU. with the largest number of schools and departments and majors from which you can choose in case you are applying to NYU in New York. So the picture that you see now on the screen is our campus in New York City. It doesn't look like a typical US university campus because it's in the middle of the city. All our departments are around Washington Square, really with this idea to be in and of the city and for everything that the city has to offer to make it accessible for students who are studying at NYU. We truly believe in experiential learning. So if you will be a student at NYU, of course, you will be learning and studying in the classroom, but your learning process will grow beyond the classroom space. And you will be able to see how everything that you have studied in the classroom is connected to the world around you. I will give you several examples of how this experiential learning looks like in different programs. But for now, let me introduce the three campuses a little bit. NYU's campuses are similar in some regards, and they are different in other regards. So how they are similar? Regardless of where you are studying, you will be studying in English, and also you will receive a US degree diploma. So how they are different. First and foremost, there is a difference between the size of the campus. We have the campus in New York City, which is a larger campus with more than 10,000 students who are studying there, while the campus that we have in the other two places, one in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates and one in Shanghai, China, are smaller campuses. The number of majors from which you can choose is also different for the three campuses. Also, it's just a very different vibe to study in the US, to study in the Middle East, or to study in Shanghai, China. The student body is organized a little bit differently. So those are some of these criteria that you can also think about when you're thinking about choosing a university. What are those characteristics of a university that are really important to you when you're choosing the university where you would like to apply? Maybe you want to study at a large university with, a very large number of students, or maybe that's not so relevant to you. Maybe you're thinking more about which continent, which city is the one that you would like to study at. Or of course, one very important part of this is the majors that are offered. So what are the academic fields that you can discover and study further if you choose that university? So as you are working through, the research of US universities and trying to find a good fit for you, what would be a good fit as a university and campus to apply to, you can think about all of these aspects. Another aspect, of course, which is very important, is financial aid. What type of financial aid is offered by the university where you're planning to apply? What would be the internship opportunity? So these are all things that you can also note and think about when you are listening to this type of presentations, because every representative who's introducing the university are able to give you and provide more information about the aspects that you're most interested in order to identify what would be the university where you would like to apply to and hopefully attend and really, be able to achieve all your academic goals for your undergraduate program. Okay, so turning back to the campuses of NYU, beside the campus that we have in New York City, as I mentioned, we do have another campus in Shanghai, China, and that's a little bit different because, for example, how the student body is organized, because 50% of the students who are studying in Shanghai, China are international students, as you would be if you would be applying to NYU Shanghai. And 50% are Chinese students. And all international students who are studying at NYU Shanghai are studying Chinese Mandarin for their 4 years of undergraduate studies. So if you, for example, are interested to learn more about Chinese business, economics, you want to learn the language, then this can be an interesting campus for you to consider. Also because international students are studying together with Chinese students, they're not just learning the language, but they also have the opportunity to practice the language every day with native speakers of Chinese Mandarin. And I think this is already a very good example of this type of experiential learning that I was mentioning earlier, that if you would be studying at NYU Shanghai, you would be learning Chinese Mandarin, you would be practicing the language with your peers, and also you would be living in Shanghai, China. So you would have a lot of opportunities to learn more about the local cultures, Also, the students who are studying at NYU Shanghai will receive a dual degree diploma, which will be both a US and a Chinese diploma, opening a lot of opportunities for them later on when it comes to job opportunities, maybe in the markets that they are interested in continuing, that might be related to Chinese business or economics or one of the other majors that are offered at NYU Shanghai. And the third campus, and the campus that I would like to share a little bit more about, is the one in Abu Dhabi. The campus in Abu Dhabi was established with this idea of gathering students from all over the world in order to study together in an international environment and to learn as much from each other as they're learning from the faculty. So how to create that? First and foremost, NYU Abu Dhabi's campus is a small campus. Only 2,000 undergraduate students are studying at NYU Abu Dhabi, but they are coming from more than 100 countries. And actually more than 100 languages are spoken on our campus in Abu Dhabi. So it really is like a microcosmos of the world in a way, where you are exposed to all those different languages and cultures every day just by, going to class or, going for a lunch with your friends. And the classes that you would be participating in would be small discussion-based classes. The student-faculty ratio will never exceed 8:1, really with this idea for students who are studying at NYU Abu Dhabi to have the opportunity to, engage into conversation with faculty and with their colleagues, and to have the opportunity to ask questions, to tell their opinion. At the same time, to maybe for a conversation that starts during class, it doesn't have to end when the class is ended, because all students are housed on campus and most of the faculty are housed on campus as well. So sometimes the conversation starts during class, but it can continue even after class. Also, NYU Abu Dhabi is quite unique in how it combines the modern capital environment of Abu Dhabi with a very innovative liberal arts education that is offered at the campus and the university at NYU. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the presentation as well, that NYU is offering a liberal arts curriculum. If you're researching US universities, then probably you have heard about this phrase before, liberal arts college, or following the liberal arts curriculum, because a lot of US universities are offering this type of curriculum, which really means a lot of things. Let me give you a few more details about it, so it would be easier to navigate when you hear this and when you are learning about this. So if you are applying to a liberal arts college, how NYU Abu Dhabi is, for example, you can apply undecided. And that's perfectly fine, because we understand that it might be the case that you need a little bit more time to discover and learn about those topics that you're most interested in before you decide what exactly would be the major and the minor that you're choosing for your studies. So, probably what is the field or what are the fields that you're interested in studying, and in your application you will be asked to share that. So maybe you really like sciences and you're interested in biology, and you're thinking about maybe choosing biology as a major. So you can declare you can share that information in your application, but that's not yet a commitment to that major, because during your first year of your studies you will have a little bit more time to participate to biology classes, but also participate and choose maybe other science classes that you're interested in, have conversation with faculty members and see what is exactly that you would like to study, whether there are some new fields that you haven't heard about it yet, and maybe that can be also something interesting for you. So you will have another year until your second year of your studies when you have to declare your major and to choose whether you want to study biology, or maybe you want to study bioengineering, or whatever it might be that you find fascinating and you want to deep dive into and focus your research on as you go further with your studies during your undergraduate program. Also, studying liberal arts will come with this flexibility where you can choose your major and your minor. That can be, of course, interdisciplinary, but they also can come from different academic fields. So to stick with this idea of studying maybe biology as a major, at the same time that you're choosing biology as a major, why cannot be the case that you're also very interested maybe in design or music or environmental issues? If that's the case, you can choose a minor that is focusing in one of those fields, for example, and combine these two if that's something that you're interested in. Also, liberal arts will always, give you this base of knowledge, which will be very comprehensive for all students to be able to, know a little bit of all the academic fields before they decide what they would like to study. So later on, they would be able to work together with students and with colleagues who are coming from different academic fields than their own. So it's a really exciting and very comprehensive way of learning, studying in a liberal arts curriculum, how is offered at NYU and NYU Abu Dhabi as well. And if you remember, I also mentioned that NYU is a global network university with a lot of opportunities of where you can study. So let me explain that a little bit further. This map that I show now on the screen, it really represents very well this global network of NYU. And you see the 3 cities where we have the graduating campuses of NYU, so where you can apply as a student and you can graduate from the undergraduate programs, which we have in New York City, in Abu Dhabi, and in Shanghai. So if you decide to apply to NYU, these are the 3 campuses where you can apply. The application is via the Common App online application. I would be curious to know how many of you are familiar with the Common App, but if you are familiar, then fantastic, great. If you hadn't heard about the Common App before, I really encourage you to check it out. It's commonapp.org. Actually, the application for the next cycle of applications will open in the beginning of August. And Common App is an online application used by a large number of US universities. So if you're thinking about applying to US universities, it's definitely an application form that you should take a look at. Once you register, even if you're unsure, whether you will apply or not, or what will be the universities that you would apply to, it still gives you a good opportunity and overview of how this works for the universities that are using Common App. So you will be able to see the list of universities that are using Common App. You will find us there as well. It's just New York University. And once you selected New York University, then you have the opportunity to put in order of preferences the campuses that you're interested in. So this is how you can apply with one application to all 3 of our campuses in order of preferences. Of course, you don't have to apply to all 3 if you do not want to, but you have this opportunity. And of course, you're encouraged to do research about all 3 of the campuses and see which would be the good fit for you based on your plans, for your undergraduate studies, and apply accordingly. As NYU's campuses are all very competitive, obviously you have the most chance to be admitted to the campus of your first choice. So in case you will be admitted to NYU, then you would have a home campus, and that would be the place where you would spend most of your 4 years of undergraduate studies. So another very important information that undergraduate programs in the US is for 4 years, not as for 3 years as we have it, for example, in a lot of European countries that are following the Bologna system. If you are admitted to one of those campuses, you would spend most of your 4 years at that campus, but at the same time, you would also have the opportunity to travel in the global network that you see now on the screen. You see all these other cities that are highlighted here. These are the cities where NYU have academic centers. You can think about an academic center like a smaller campus. So you cannot apply directly to Buenos Aires or to Madrid or to Sydney, but you can study there for a semester or for a couple of months during your undergraduate studies. So let me give you a few examples of how this works. If you will be a student at undergraduate program in Abu Dhabi, and you decide to study, for example, I don't know, let's say business or economics, then it would be a good idea to go to London for a semester, to the academic center that NYU has in London, because London is a business center of the world. So you would have the opportunity to learn more about the local economical, political, social system, but also to get to know the people, to get to know the city, turning back to this idea of experiential learning. Or, for example, those students who are studying arts, they usually go to Florence and learn about the Renaissance by visiting the museums of Florence and learning in this way about the Renaissance. Obviously, those students who are interested to learn more about interactive media and new media and they are following these majors in Abu Dhabi are the ones who go to Los Angeles and learn more about how TV shows are created, how music is created for TV shows. The idea really is for you to go to places that are connected to the academic field that you would like to study, and where you have the opportunity to meet with people who know most about these fields, and for you to have a lot of relevant knowledge about the field that you would like to continue with your academic studies, with your research, and maybe your profession as well after you're finished your studies. So when you are traveling in this network, you are at the same university. So don't forget that. That's why we say no matter where you are at NYU, because while you're traveling, your credits will be transferred, your stipend would be transferred, the housing that you have at your home campus and the one that you have at the study away site would be kind of similar. So in this regard, it would be very convenient and comfortable. On another regard, it would still require you to be curious, to wish to learn more about the world, to be really, curious about global issues and global conversation, and to learn more about the world in this way. As we have just a short amount of time, I will go further and talk a little bit about the application process briefly, so you have an idea about how the application process goes for NYU and NYU Abu Dhabi. So I mentioned that you will be applying via the Common App, and if you will take a look at the Common App, you will see the questions that are there, and you will see that, of course, there are a lot of questions related to your education and academics, but how application to a US university is different than, for example, applying to universities in Europe, is that you will see that there will be a lot of questions also related to extracurricular activities, your interests, your hobbies, and there will be also questions that are more related to learning more about you as a person and for you to share more about your personal characteristics. So that's why it is called a holistic admission process, because admissions, of course, will be very interested to learn about your education and all about your academic results, but they would like to know more about your interest and about you as a person as well. So if you are applying to NYU and NYU Abu Dhabi, the type of documents and information that you have to provide, of course, for education will be transcripts of your high school grades, some sort of standardized test that you can choose which one you would like to apply with if you decide to apply with a standardized test, an English language certificate, and really everything else that is related to your education and grades. And, maybe during the summer you were participating to some higher level classes, maybe some university level classes, anything that is related to studies and education will come to this part. Then there will be questions regarding your hobbies, your interests. So here you will be able to share more about, what are the things that you're really committed to and excited about, and where you focus your energy and time outside of school. So for example, if you're doing sports, you're volunteering, you're playing a musical instrument, all of this will come into the extracurricular part. In the Common App, there will be 10 sections that you can use for this. And for each of this, you will be able to provide information about how many hours per week, for how long would you be focusing on that activity, and you can share some information about what was exactly your role in that activity, and why did you choose to do that. And then as for kind of a third part of this holistic application process, you will be asked to write essays. For NYU, there is one complementary essay, the Common App essay or personal statement, and then there is an optional essay as well. For other universities, it might be, more or less of how they handle essays that they ask for their applicants. But this is really an opportunity for you to share more about yourself. There will be prompts in the Common App that will be there in order to help you in this process, to guide you, to inspire you. So you would be able to share a story about yourself in order to help admissions to get to know you a little bit better, and also for you to give a little bit more depth to your application by letting them know a little bit more about yourself. There will be letters of recommendation that you have to submit as well. So you will be asked to ask your college counselor or a teacher or somebody else from an academic setting to share letter of recommendation for you. So for NYU, there's one letter of recommendation that is compulsory, but again, for other universities, it might be cases for other requirements. And then, of course, there are college-specific requirements for each university that they will ask for you, which will be specific to that university or college where you are applying to. So going back to education, NYU is a test flexible university, which means that you can apply with an SAT or an ACT as to a large number of other US universities, but you can also apply with an IB if you are in the IB diploma program, and you can apply with your national high school leaving examination if that is accepted by NYU's international qualification system. You can check this very easily on NYU's website. You just choose the country where you are applying from, and then it will be listed what are the tests that are accepted. But a large number of European and Central Asian national high school leaving examinations are accepted as well. The idea really here is that every student is taken in consideration from their own context. So if you're doing great in the IB program, or maybe you're doing great in your national curriculum, and you're able to show how do you challenge yourself academically, and how do you take the extra step really in your studies, you can show that in with that curriculum or the testing, and not necessarily sit for an SAT just because you're applying to US university. But of course, if you participated to an SAT and you would like to apply with that one, you can also decide to do that. So test flexibility really means that the university will show you what are the tests that they accept, and then you can choose, you can decide which would be the test and the result that would show the best of your results in order to submit a competitive application, and you can decide which is the one that you would like to submit. Last thing that I want to mention about the application process that is unique to the Abu Dhabi campus is that after you submit your application, you see the application deadlines on the screen as well. Obviously, there's a rigorous selection process, and those students who will be considered strong applicants, we call them finalist candidates, they will be invited to Abu Dhabi for candidate weekend. The candidate weekend is like a second round of the selection. It's really an opportunity for students to get to know the university and the campus. So if you will be selected as a finalist candidate, then you would be invited to a candidate weekend to Abu Dhabi. All costs related to this event are covered by the university, so it won't mean any financial burden for you and for your family. And you would be able to come and participate in sample classes, meet with faculty, and of course, current students. There is usually an interview or a test that you will take while you are at candidate weekend. There's usually a visit to the desert. So it's really a fantastic opportunity to see, whether this is the place where you would see yourself as a student for the next 4 years. And after candidate weekend, the decisions are made about who's admitted to the university and who's not. So let me also talk a little bit about financial aid. I encourage you to research financial aid opportunities for the universities where you're applying to. This is an important part of the application, obviously. So in case of NYU, financial aid packages or opportunities are different for the 3 campuses. In case of NYU Abu Dhabi, the type of financial aid is need-based that is offered. So it's totally based on need. You have to submit a separate application for financial aid application. It's called the CSS profile. So you are submitting and completing the Common App application for admission, and then CSS profile for the financial aid application, where you have to provide information about your family's financial situation. And in case you are admitted to the university, then the university will offer you a significant help with all the costs that it would be a burden for your family to pay for, because in the CSS profile, you have to show you have to demonstrate what is the need that you have in order for you to be able to enroll and attend the university. So in this case, if you're admitted and you will be offered a financial aid based on the need that you have, you would have the opportunity to study at NYU Abu Dhabi, and this not to mean like a huge financial burden for your family. So let's wrap it up very quickly with a few things that I want to show you in the last couple of minutes. So one thing that I want to show you is the list of majors that you can study at NYU Abu Dhabi. So as I mentioned, you can apply undecided, but eventually you have to decide about your major and minor. So you can see that you can study different science majors, engineering programs at NYU Abu Dhabi. There are several arts and humanities and also social sciences programs. So for the last couple of years, obviously, the business, organization and society, psychology, economics, these were very popular majors, but also engineering programs are very strong and competitive at NYU Abu Dhabi. And just to kind of finish, I would like to show you a few pictures of the campus. So the campus is in the United Arab Emirates in Abu Dhabi on Saadiyat Island. Saadiyat Island is kind of like a cultural hub of the city with a lot of galleries and museums nearby. We are very close to the Louvre Abu Dhabi, which is the only Louvre museum outside of Paris, France. So this is how our campus looks like. Downstairs are the classrooms and the research facilities, and upstairs are the dorms. As I mentioned, all students are housed on campus. So really the campus is like a mini city in the city of Abu Dhabi. We do have an official professional arts center on campus with 3 theaters. So what you see here is the Red Theater close to the Blue Theater. So this is not just for students who are studying arts, but also a lot of performers, artists, musicians are visiting the art center during the year. So it's a very vivid environment, and all students have access to all these events free of charge. Our community is very active when it comes to sports. So there are a lot of student interest groups focusing around sports, but also languages. There are inter-university league games going on. We have an Olympic-sized pool on campus. So with a lot of your hobbies, you would be able to, and extracurriculars, to continue with that once you're on campus. This is our library where you can rent out books, obviously, but a telescope or a camera as well, if that's something that you need for the research that you're working on. We have our own MRI machine on campus. So, regardless of what is the research and the focus that you have, the university will do its best to help you be able to focus on the research that you would like to focus on during your studies. So I will stop here just for the sake of time, and also to have time for Q&A and going forward with our discussion.
Thank you, Susanna, so much. The pictures are very impressive. I really hope that it gives at least 10% understanding to the students who are watching us now what it's like to be at NYU. Okay, so we will start with the Q&A session. For those who are watching us now, please submit them in the comment section. Some of them have been addressed in advance, so I will start with those. So one of the first question is, do students have equal access to majors across all campuses? Where are some programs campus specific? And I think you've mentioned that, but maybe yes, it's worth mentioning once more.
Of course. A very good question. So, first of all, there are some majors that are available at all 3 of the campuses. When we are talking about, for example, economics or engineering, those are majors that you can study at all 3 of the campuses. But don't forget that as a student, you will be admitted to one of the campuses. So it's important to see whether the major that you're interested in is offered at the campus that you are applying to be sure that eventually you would have the opportunity to study that major. Also, just to give you kind of an idea of how this works, if you would be studying economics, and it is, of course, NYU and NYU quality education and NYU faculty all across the globe, if you are studying economics in New York, it will be a little bit more US specific. If you're studying economics in Shanghai, it would be more Far East specific, China specific. If you're studying economics, other social sciences in Abu Dhabi, we consider ourselves being at the crossroads between Europe, Asia, and Africa, being in the Middle East. So obviously, you would be focusing more economics in these regions. So besides studying economics, it can have an added layer of where you are studying this and how being in the region can actually help you understand more about that region in the field that you're interested in. Having equal access, I'm not exactly sure what does that want to mean. So NYU students have the same access to, like library facilities or things like that. There will be some classes that would be offered, or some professors who are teaching at just one of the campuses or two of the campuses. So where you are studying obviously will define what would be the courses that you would be able to attend. Of course, with the opportunity that I mentioned of you can study away for a semester based on your major, based on your interests, and sometimes even for 2 semesters. And then you can think about what would be the courses that you would pick at the other place where you go in the frame of the global network.
Thank you. Thank you. That was very helpful. The next question is how your portfolio should look like if you want to enroll in NYU. And maybe here we can talk more about some practical things, something about the test optional policy maybe, or I don't know, about GPA, or maybe some minimum requirements for the standardized test.
Yeah, sure, of course. So, I think I kind of explained this, but maybe I can go more into details that when it comes to the package of documents that you will submit for NYU, and maybe NYU Abu Dhabi specifically, is something that is very much depending on what you are doing during your high school years. So there is no like one standard way of how you go with this, because your job, so to say, is really how to put together the strongest case for yourself in your application, why you are a competitive applicant and why do you see yourself at this university and this campus. So, and this would be familiar for some other US universities as well, as far as I'm aware, that there are no, like, for example, for NYU, we don't have minimal requirements. We do not tell you what exactly you have to have, because there is no like recipe of how you get in this way. Obviously, the more you challenge yourself academically, the more you can show that, maybe you are interested in the sciences. So what did you do during your high school years to challenge yourself in the sciences fields, because that's what you see yourself going forward with. So maybe you took the higher level classes, maybe you participated to some research, maybe you volunteered during the summer in that field a little bit. Maybe you had some small project in your community related to your interest that actually helped your community in a way as well. So you can find your ways around your interests and your future plans and how you're able to show that in the best way in your application. So, for example, I do get the question from students of, okay, what is the, the SAT or the IB result I should have to get in? So it's a little bit more complicated than that in a way that, or maybe it's not more complicated, it just has to be a little bit more different approach to that. That's why the holistic admission comes in here, that, having perfect score of SAT, which is fantastic. And everybody knows that there is a lot of work behind it, and that would be very, very much taken into consideration. But that is not a guarantee that a student is admitted. And not having a perfect SAT score is also not a guarantee that somebody cannot be admitted. So that's why we have this holistic approach where, if you're applying to NYU and NYU Abu Dhabi, I can tell you that academics will always be the most important part. You are applying to school, so we have to see, that you are prepared for all the academic challenges that are coming once you will be at the university. But there are also a lot of other aspects that comes to this, of your interests, your initiatives, your life in the school, your life outside of school, your personal characteristics, your hobbies. That's why there is this holistic view on your application. So think about all of those aspects. When it comes to testing, of course, that's why there is the test optional and the test flexible part of think about which is the way how you can again show the best of your results, to show how did you did the best in some fields. What is the test that you have or will have that will help you to show that to admissions? So this is something that you have to kind of tailor for yourself based on all the things that you've already done. And really just to be yourself and show that as much as possible to shine through your application.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The other question is, and that has been also asked in the live chat, is there an option for master's or PhD? What are your tips on how to get scholarships aid? Someone also asked about the financial opportunities for postgraduate degree. If you can just share a bit about that here.
Well, I am less familiar with the master and PhD programs. We are a huge institution with a lot of programs, as you've seen all across the globe. So this is already kind of a different aspect of this. So if you are interested in master's and PhD programs, we do offer master's programs in 2 master programs in Abu Dhabi, a large number of master's programs in New York. There are PhD programs in New York, and there is also an MBA in Abu Dhabi. So there are a lot of options. But if you would like to learn more about this, then I would advise you to do a bit of research and then maybe participate to a webinar like this, but for the master and PhD level, where one of my colleagues can share more on this, because this is more focused on undergraduate that we are talking about here today.
Thank you. Okay, the next question. What makes admission officers instantly put you on the reject list?
There are always this type of questions of, I think you really should be thinking about how to not think about black and white about application process to US universities. Same way how I talked about having a perfect SAT score or not having a perfect SAT score. I don't know what did you have in mind asking this question exactly. Obviously, you are the one who is tailoring your application. For example, when it comes to the essay that you are writing or anything that you're sharing, obviously you should consider what is important for you to share with admission officers, to know about you, to know about your results. But at the same time, obviously this is a competition. So you would like to talk about the things that help you in the process of getting admitted to a university. So think about all the things that are relevant for you and very important in your life, in academics, in extracurriculars that you want to share. But at the same time, what are the things that you think it's relevant for an admission officer to know about you? And then I'm sure you'll be fine.
Great, thank you. Then I'll move to the questions we have in the chat. Okay, so one of the question is, okay, you already answered to this one. Is applying early binding?
Yes, it is binding. So if you are applying early decision, we have 2 early decision deadlines actually. We have one in November the 1st and one January the 1st, and both are early decisions. They're early decision 1 and early decision 2. There is no difference between those, beside the fact that you have 2 more months to work on your application. So both are binding. If you are applying early decision, it means 2 things. On the one hand, you're sending this message to the university that this is your dream school, and if they are admitting you, then you're happy to enroll. But at the same time, that also means that you are committed to that institution. So if you are admitted, you are required to enroll, to withdraw any other applications that you have at other universities, and not to submit new ones. The only case when early decision would not be binding for us is if you are admitted, at the same time, probably you apply for financial aid, you get the information about the financial aid package as well that you would receive, and you would consider it not enough for you for the 4 years of your undergraduate studies, then you can still withdraw, even if you applied early decision, and nobody will force you to attend in that frame.
Okay, great. I will move to the next one. I am familiar with the financial aid situation for each campus. I have heard that NYD doesn't consider need as a factor. And in order to choose the candidates while the other two campuses do, is that accurate?
Yeah, I understood the question. So I'm not absolutely familiar about how the other two campuses do this, but in case of NYU Abu Dhabi, what you are phrasing here is that we are need blind. And yes, that is the case. So very, very good question. So if you are applying to NYU Abu Dhabi and you applied for admissions and at the same time you applied for financial aid, when admissions make their decision about who's admitted to the university and who's not, they don't know anything about the financial aid application that you submitted and your financial aid situation. So these decisions are made separately. That's what it means being need blind. And yes, NYU Abu Dhabi is need blind.
Great, thank you. The next question, how important is international experience in the NYU admission process? I've never been abroad. Would that put me at disadvantage? A disadvantage?
Yeah, very, very interesting question. I would say, NYU Abu Dhabi is such an international place, which means that we do have students who are coming from all across the board and all across the globe. Opportunities are different. The schools where students are applying from are different. The curriculums, as we talked about, are different. So obviously not everyone, will have necessarily a lot of international or study abroad experiences just because maybe they are coming from a school or environment where they didn't have so much of those opportunities, where maybe it was a little bit more in depth in the curriculum for other schools. And I do not think that this should be something that would consider, make you worry about this, because really that's why we have, for example, this flexible testing where you can apply with your national high school leaving examination from a lot of countries. So students don't have to necessarily be in an international curriculum. They can apply with. So I'm not giving you examples just because I know the participants are coming from a lot of different countries. So I'm not sure, where are you applying from? But for example, I do work with students from Poland, from Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, from all of those countries. Students can apply from a national curriculum very well. They do not necessarily have to follow like an international curriculum, being in an IB or sitting for an SAT. They can apply with the national curriculum from those countries. And please do your research about your country. So the same way, the idea is, what do you do with the opportunities that you have? And how do you, make the most of those? What those opportunities are will be very, very different for all the applicants. And they are coming from very different countries, backgrounds, curriculums. You do not have to worry about that. Admissions is very familiar with a lot of different curriculums and backgrounds. You just have to show what did you do with your curriculum and opportunities that you had. So don't worry about that.
Great, thank you. The next question, in what languages are the programs in Shanghai and Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, so all programs are in English. If you would like to study languages, that's very much encouraged. And you have like minors in Abu Dhabi, you can study French, Chinese, Arabic, Spanish as a minor. And because of the very international community that we have, probably other languages are there that you could also, practice with your peers. But the language of instruction is English. This is an American university. You will have to submit also an English language certificate when you are applying. On our website, you can see what is the level that is required for each of those tests that we accept. So we accept IELTS, TOEFL, Cambridge, and you can see what is the level that is needed. And that is exactly there. So we know, when you have to face calculus classes, you will be fine and focus on calculus because English language is not really a barrier.
That's good to know. The next question, can you also tell me if you have seen a case where an applicant gets admitted to their two second, third choices? I think many competitive applicants choose a campus as their first choice. How does it work?
So as I mentioned, you have the most chance to get admitted to the campus of your first choice. There are cases when students are not offered maybe a place at their first choice, but they might get an admittance from their second choice. If that would be the case, for example, if you applied early decision, that would not be binding. So, maybe you very much want to go to a place, but as an option, consider place B, and you are only offered the opportunity for place B, then of course you can decide whether you want to take that route or not. So it happens sometimes, but then of course there will be a discussion of whether you are comfortable going for your second option or not.
Thank you. The next question, for the required teacher recommendations, what specific soft skills or traits do NYU Abu Dhabi admission officers love to see highlighted?
So, for the letter of recommendation, for example, if you ask a counselor, maybe you ask one from your counselor and you ask also some for another one from a teacher, let's say, then from the counselor, they could talk more about your role in the school and in the school community in general and all that you do in the school and the member of the school community. And when it comes to the teacher, they can talk more about you in the classroom, in that academic field that you're studying with that teacher. All are focusing in a way, of course, on you in an academic setting, focusing on your studies, but also you as a member of the community that you're part in the school. But this can be very, different and subjective based on who's writing it and who's writing about it. So I think what you can think about is if you ask for one, from a school teacher or from your counselor, and if there is anyone else in your life who can talk about different aspects, maybe you had a coach in some sports activities, or maybe you were working and you had a job or a mentor who can talk about different skills or different knowledges, or you in a different community and then being part of something else that adds up to something that was already said about another recommender, then you can ask for a second recommendation to kind of show the whole picture.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The next question, is NYU Abu Dhabi UPP program really increases chances to be admitted as first-year student to NYU Abu Dhabi?
So, that is, as the name says, it's really a preparation program. So it's definitely something where you have the opportunity to learn more about the programs of NYU Abu Dhabi and how to prepare for that. If you are able to participate in something or be selected for it, that's fantastic. That's really great. But also that is just not a very large program. So of course, there are a lot of students who are not participating to the program, and they still could be very much part of NYU Abu Dhabi. So participating to webinars like this, doing as much research as possible, going on different, discussions with current students or interviews that are offered, especially once the application process will open, will also help you a lot. And, learning more about how to write essays, how to properly complete the Common App. But you can get a lot of guidance on this in general. So that's a very good way, but there are a lot of other ways that you can learn about this.
Okay, that's great. The next question, may it hurt the reliability of my application if my school doesn't have an official website and its own email domain, though it has social media pages?
Very interesting question. Well, when you're applying, the person who will be your counselor, in some cases, not all schools have a college counselor per se, but you still can ask somebody from your school to fulfill the role of a college counselor. It can be your school teacher or somebody who knows you well because of a class that you worked on together, or sometimes it's the school principal, or I don't know what would be the specific case. But that person will be asked to submit a school report. So a school report is a document that helps admission to understand more about the school, how many students are in general attending that school, what is the GPA system that they are following, what is the curriculum that they are following, what are the, I don't know, internship opportunities, all that, extracurriculars that students have the opportunity to follow. So it's kind of part of your application that a teacher or a counselor or somebody from the school part will be asked to officially submit information about your school, exactly for this thing to for the university to have a very clear view of the background, academic background that you're coming from. So if that's not an official website, but it's an official, document submitted by your counselor, that would be something that they would take in consideration when it comes to own email domain. Again, your counselor probably just have to mention this in the application, that this is the official email that we are using for our teaching and recommendation purposes, and please consider it as the official one.
Thank you. The next question, do you have any recommendation for STEM major? Is there any difference between compasses for science majors?
I mean, of course, the idea here is to challenge yourself in those fields. If you want to go for some of the STEM majors, then probably you're taking the higher level classes in those fields already in high school. Maybe you participate to some national, international competitions in order to challenge yourself, in order to see yourself kind of developing further in those fields. Hopefully you can participate to some research when it comes to that. Again, it can be so different based on where you are studying, what are your opportunities, what are your goals. But definitely, when you indicate the major that you want to study, even if that's just an indication in your application, and then you add to that all your results that are hopefully great and focusing exactly on those fields, that obviously shows that you're taking that seriously and thinking about how to professionally develop further in the field that you're interested in.
Totally agree. Thank you so much. It seems we are done with all the questions. Someone was asking if the recording of this video is going to be saved. Yes, you'll be able to see that on our YouTube page. So yes, after we finish with the live, you'll be able to see the recording. Thank you so much, Susanna. I really appreciate the presentation and your experience. I really hope that for all those that have watched us today, they will have the opportunity to watch that later. Otherwise, they can also address the question to you. I'm not sure if we have shared your email, but in case if you want to outreach Susanna, you can also let us know about that. We will definitely help you with pleasure to do that. So yes, for all those who are in the preparation process for their fall applications, we wish you luck. Susanna mentioned several times the Common App application. We'll have webinar with Common App, and we'll try to help you during this important process of filling out the application, because this is definitely an important one. So we will try to help you with at every step that you need to consider when you are doing your application for your studies. So outreach your Education USA advisors. We are here to assist you during this challenge time in your life. Thank you once more, Susanna, and I wish everyone that was with us today and was with us today a really great evening. Thank you once more, and please stay tuned for our next webinars.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.